The space station called Nexus 7 floated in the dark emptiness between three star systems. It was not a nice place. It was not a safe place. It was a place where criminals met, where stolen goods changed hands, and where people disappeared without anyone asking questions. Cole Harper had never wanted to come here. He was just a cargo pilot from Earth. He flew a small ship called the Wanderer with a crew of 5 people who had become his family over the years. They moved legal goods from one planet to another. It was honest work. It was simple work. It was supposed to be safe work. But they had other plans. There were a species of tall, thin aliens with skin and 4 arms. They controlled the criminal underground in this part of the galaxy. Their pirates had surrounded the Wanderer 3 weeks ago. Cole remembered the moment clearly. He remembered the warning shots that shook his ship. He remembered the cold voice on the radio telling him to surrender or die. He had surrendered. He had no choice. His ship had no weapons. His crew was not trained for combat. He thought if he gave up peacefully, they would take his cargo and let them go. He was wrong. They took everything. They took his ship. They took his cargo. They took his crew and scattered them across the station, selling them to different buyers like they were objects instead of people. And they took Cole to their leader, a crime lord named, was larger than the other. His skin was darker, almost black, and his eyes were completely white with no pupils. He sat on a chair made of bones in a room filled with shadows. You flew through our territory without paying the toll, said. His voice sounded like rocks grinding together. That means you owe us. Cole stood before him with his hands bound. 2 guards held his arms. He was still wearing the same clothes he had worn when they captured him. His brown hair was dirty. His face had bruises from the beatings they had given him. I did not know there was a toll, Cole said. No one told me. He laughed. It was an ugly sound. Ignorance is not an excuse, human. You owe us 50,000 credits. You will work off your debt in the arena. The arena. Cole had heard whispers about it during his time in the holding cells. It was an underground fighting pit where aliens bet on creatures killing each other. The fighters were slaves, prisoners, and desperate souls who had no other options. Most of them died within their first 3 matches. "I am not a fighter," Cole said. "Then you will die quickly," replied. "But you will still fight. 1 match for every 1,000 credits. Win 50 matches and you are free. Lose even once and you are dead. Those are the rules." The guards dragged Cole away before he could argue. That was 3 days ago. Now Cole stood in a small cell beneath the arena, listening to the roar of the crowd above him. The walls were made of rusted metal. The floor was covered in old blood stains. A single light flickered on the ceiling. He was 32 years old. He had grown up on a farm in Kansas before joining a cargo company at 18. He had never been in a real fight in his entire life. He did not know how to use weapons. He did not know combat techniques. All he had were his 2 hands and a body that had been shaped by years of hard physical labor. The door to his cell opened. A guard stood there with a shock stick in one of his 4 hands. "Time to fight, human," the guard said. "Try not to die too quickly. The crowd likes a good show." Cole walked out of the cell and down a long tunnel. The roar of the crowd grew louder with each step. The air smelled like sweat and blood and something else he could not name. Fear, maybe, or death. The tunnel opened into a large circular pit. The ground was covered in sand that had been stained dark by countless battles. Walls rose up on all sides, too high to climb, topped with energy barriers that crackled with blue light. Above the walls, thousands of aliens sat in rows of seats, screaming and shouting and waving their various limbs. Cole walked to the center of the pit and looked around. He saw species he recognized and species he had never seen before. He saw creatures with tentacles and creatures with scales. He saw beings made of rock and beings made of light. All of them were looking at him. All of them were waiting to see him die. Across the pit, a gate opened. His opponent stepped out, and Cole felt his stomach drop. It was a Cole had seen pictures of them before, but never one in person. They were massive creatures from a high-gravity world. This one stood almost 8 feet tall, with 4 muscular arms and skin that looked like armor plating. Its head was broad and flat, with small red eyes and a mouth full of sharp teeth. The carried 2 curved blades, one in each of its upper hands. It looked at Cole and smiled. The crowd went wild. High above the arena floor, in a private viewing box reserved for the wealthy and powerful, Nth watched with mild curiosity. She was a species known throughout the galaxy for their intelligence, their political power, and their complete rejection of physical violence. The had evolved beyond combat 10,000 years ago. They believed that fighting with your body was primitive and beneath them. They used words and wealth and manipulation to get what they wanted. Was tall and slim, with pale blue skin that seemed to glow faintly in the dim light. Her eyes were violet, large and expressive, with no visible pupils. Her hair was silver and fell past her shoulders in waves. She wore robes of deep purple that marked her as a member of one of the noble houses. She had come to Nexus 7 for a diplomatic meeting that had bored her nearly to death. One of her servants had mentioned the arena fights, and she had decided to attend out of pure boredom. She expected to see mindless violence. She expected to feel disgust. What she did not expect was to feel interested. A human, she said softly, looking down at Cole. I have heard of them. A young species from a small planet called Earth. They only achieved faster-than-light travel a few decades ago. Her advisor, an older named, nodded. They are considered a primitive species, my lady. Strong bodies but simple minds. This one will not last long against us. Watched as Cole looked up at his opponent. The human was so small compared to he had no weapons. He had no armor. He had nothing but his bare hands. And yet he was not running. He was not screaming. He was not begging for mercy. He was standing his ground. Interesting, Murmured. Down in the pit, a horn sounded. The fight had begun. The charged with a roar that shook the walls. It raised both blades and swung them down in deadly arcs aimed at Cole's head. Cole moved. Cole did not think. His body simply reacted. He threw himself to the side as the blades came down. They cut through the air where his head had been a moment before. Sand sprayed up as the weapons hit the ground. Cole rolled and came up on his feet, already moving. The crowd gasped. They had expected him to die in the first second. Instead, he was still alive. The turned, surprised. It had fought many opponents in this arena. Most of them froze when they saw it charge. Most of them died without even trying to fight back. This human was different. Lucky dodge, the growled in a voice like thunder. You cannot dodge forever. It swung again. Cole ducked under the first blade and stepped inside the creature's reach. The second blade came from the side, but Cole was already too close. The flat of the blade hit his shoulder instead of the edge. Pain shot through his arm, but he did not stop. He punched in the stomach. It was like punching a wall. His knuckles screamed in protest. The laughed. Is that the best you can do, little human? Your fists are nothing against my hide. Cole did not answer. He was already moving again, circling the creature, staying just out of reach of its blades. His mind was racing. He could not hurt this thing with regular punches. Its skin was too thick. He needed to find a weak point. The swung again and again. Each time, Cole barely avoided the blades. He was fast, but the creature was strong. One good hit would cut him in half. He could feel the wind from the blades each time they passed near his body. High above, leaned forward in her seat. Her eyes were fixed on the human. She had never seen anything move like that. The believed in efficiency and calculation. This human was fighting on pure instinct, reacting to attacks before they happened, moving like water around stones. He is quite agile, admitted, but he cannot win. He has no way to hurt the... Did not respond. She was watching Cole's eyes. They were scanning studying it, looking for something. Down in the pit, Cole found what he was looking for. The knee joints. They were covered in the same skin as the rest of its body, but the skin there was thinner. It had to be. The creature needed flexibility in its joints to move. That was his target. They swung both blades in a wide arc. Cole did something that made the crowd scream. He ran toward the attack instead of away from it. He dropped into a slide at the last moment, the sand carrying him beneath the blades. Before they could react, Cole was at its feet. He drove his fist into the back of the creature's right knee with all his strength. The sound was horrible, a wet crack that echoed through the arena. They screamed and stumbled. Its right leg buckled. It swung down with one blade, but Cole was already gone, rolling away across the sand. The crowd fell silent. No one could believe what they had just seen. A human, a small and weaponless human, had just injured a warrior. Impossible, whispered. Said nothing. Her hearts were beating faster than they had in years. The was angry now. It limped toward Cole with murder in its eyes. Blood dripped from its damaged knee, leaving dark spots in the sand. I will tear you apart, it said. I will eat your flesh and use your bones for decorations. Cole was breathing hard. His shoulder ached where the blade had struck him. His knuckles were bleeding from the punch he had thrown. But he was still standing. He was still fighting. They attacked again, but it was slower now. Its injured leg made it clumsy. Cole dodged to the right, then the left, then ducked under a wild swing. He was like a ghost, always where the blades were not. He waited for his moment. They overextended on a thrust. For just a second it was off balance. Cole took his chance. He jumped onto the creature's back. His arms wrapped around its thick neck. His legs locked around its torso. They roared and thrashed, trying to throw him off. Its forearms reached back, clawing at him, but it could not get a good grip. Cole squeezed. Humans are not the strongest species in the galaxy. They are not the fastest. They are not the most intelligent, but they have one thing that many species lack: endurance. A human can keep going long after other creatures would have given up. Their bodies can push through pain and exhaustion in ways that seem impossible. Cole held on for 90 seconds, the longest 90 seconds of his life. The spun and slammed itself against the walls. Cole felt his ribs crack. He felt blood running down his face from a cut on his forehead, but he did not let go. Thus movements became slower. Its roars became weaker. Oxygen was not reaching its brain. Its skin was turning darker. Finally, after 2 full minutes, the collapsed. Cole released his grip and fell to the sand beside the unconscious creature. He lay there for a moment, staring up at the lights above the arena. His entire body was in agony, but he was alive. He was alive. Slowly, painfully, he pushed himself to his feet. Blood dripped from his forehead and ran down his face. His left arm hung at a strange angle. His breathing was ragged and harsh. But he stood. The arena was completely silent. Thousands of aliens stared down at the human who had just defeated a warrior with nothing but his bare hands. No one moved. No one spoke. It was as if time itself had stopped. Then, from somewhere in the crowd, someone began to clap. Others joined in. The applause spread like fire until the entire arena was roaring with a sound that shook the walls. They were cheering for him. These aliens who had come to watch him die were now cheering for his victory. Cole did not acknowledge them. He was too tired, too hurt. He simply stood there, swaying slightly, waiting for the guards to take him back to his cell. High above, Nth sat perfectly still. Her violet eyes were wide. Her lips were slightly parted. She looked like someone who had just witnessed something sacred. "My lady," said, "are you well?" Did not answer immediately. She was still staring at the human in the pit, at his bloody face and broken body, at the defiance that still burned in his eyes even after everything he had been through. "Find out everything about him," she finally said. Her voice was soft but carried an edge that had never heard before. His name, his history, how he came to be in this place, everything. My lady, he is just a human, a primitive creature from a backwater world. Why would you want to know about him? Turned to look at her advisor. The expression on her face made him take a step backward. Because I have just watched something impossible, she said. I have just watched a creature with no weapons and no training defeat a warrior through nothing but will and determination. I have lived for 200 years. I have seen empires rise and fall. I have met kings and generals and scholars, and I have never seen anything like that human. She looked back down at the arena. The guards were leading Cole away. He could barely walk. He left a trail of blood in the sand behind him. I need to know more, said softly, and even softer, so quiet that could not hear. I need to know if he can be mine. The 3 weeks passed after the first fight. Cole fought 8 more times. He won each match. His opponents varied. A snake-like creature that tried to crush him with its coils. A fast insect being with razor-sharp claws. A pair of fighters who worked together. Each time, Cole found a way to survive. Each time he walked out of the arena covered in blood, most of it his own but still breathing. His reputation grew. The crowds that had once laughed at him now chanted his name. They called him the bare-handed beast. They called him the survivor. Bets that had once been placed against him now favored him to win. Was not pleased. He had expected the human to die quickly. Instead, Cole was becoming famous. Worse, he was costing money. The crime lord had bet heavily against Cole in the early matches. But the rules were clear. As long as Cole kept winning, he could not be touched outside the arena. Even had to follow the rules of the pit. Attended every single fight. She sat in her private box and watched Cole with those violet eyes that seemed to glow in the dim light. She learned everything about him. His name, his age, his home planet, the ship he had lost, the crew that had been taken from him. She learned that Earth was classified as a Class 12, a planet with high gravity, extreme weather, and dangerous predators. Humans had evolved in an environment that would kill most other species. Their bodies were designed for survival. Their bones were dense. Their muscles were strong. Their immune systems could fight off infections that would destroy other beings. But what fascinated most was their minds. Humans had something that her people had lost long ago. They had passion. They had fire. They had an irrational refusal to accept defeat even when defeat was the logical outcome. After Cole's ninth victory made her decision, she arranged a meeting with the crime lord. Received her in his throne room, surrounded by guards. He looked at her with suspicion in his white eyes. "Lady Nth," he said, "what brings a noble to my humble station?" "I wish to purchase the human's debt," replied. She spoke in a calm, measured voice. "I will pay the full 50,000 credits he owes you." Leaned forward. "The human is valuable. His fights bring many spectators, many bets. He is worth more than 50,000 to me now." 100,000. The room fell silent. Even the guards seemed surprised by the offer. Studied her for a long moment. "Why do you want him? The do not keep slaves. You do not fight. You do not engage in physical labor. What use is a human warrior to you?" "That is not your concern," said. "Do we have a deal or not?" Smiled. It was an ugly expression that showed all of his sharp teeth. 200,000. And you must take him now before his next fight. I have already sold tickets. Did not hesitate. Done. 1 hour later, Cole was brought to her private quarters on the station. He was still wearing the simple clothes they gave him in the arena. His body was covered in scars from his 9 fights. Some were still healing. A guard pushed him through the door and removed his chains. "You have been purchased," the guard said. "You belong to her now." The door closed behind him. Cole stood in the middle of a room more beautiful than anything he had ever seen. The walls were covered in flowing fabric of deep purple and gold. Strange plants grew in crystal containers. Soft lights hung in the air without any visible support. Everything smelled like flowers from some distant world. Sat on a curved couch, watching him. She wore robes of silver that seemed to shift and move on their own. Her violet eyes studied him the way a scientist might study an interesting specimen. Sit down," she said. "You must be tired." And Cole did not sit. "Who are you?" "My name is Nth. I am a daughter of House Nth of the Dominion." "You bought me." "I did." "Why?" Smiled slightly. "Because you interest me, Cole Harper. I have watched you fight 9 times. I have seen you do things that should be impossible. I have seen you refuse to die when any reasonable creature would have given up." "That does not answer my question." She stood and walked toward him. Her movements were graceful, almost floating. She stopped an arm's length away and looked up at his face. She was tall, but he was taller. "I want to offer you a deal," she said. "Not slavery, a partnership." Cole's eyes narrowed. "What kind of partnership?" "You will serve me, protect me. Stay by my side. In return, I will give you resources, protection, and help finding your crew." Cole went very still. "My crew." They were sold to various buyers across the station and beyond. Your pilot, your engineer, your navigator, your security officer. I know where each of them is. I can help you get them back. But I need something from you in return." "What?" Reached up and touched his jaw. Her fingers were cool against his skin. He did not pull away. "You," she said simply. "I want you. Not as a slave, not as a servant, as something more. They have forgotten how to feel passion. We have become cold and calculating. We have traded our fire for logic. But you, Cole Harper, you are full of fire. I felt it the first time I watched you fight. I have not been able to stop thinking about you since." Cole was quiet for a long moment. He looked into her violet eyes and saw something there that surprised him. She was not lying. She was not trying to trick him. She genuinely wanted him, in a way that went beyond simple ownership. "If I agree," he said slowly, "what exactly would I be to you?" "A companion, a protector, a partner." She paused. "Perhaps in time something more. The bond for life when they find someone worthy. It is rare for us to bond with other species. It has happened only a handful of times in our history, but I believe you might be worthy. And if I refuse, then I release you. You walk out that door a free man with the credits I paid for you. But you will be alone in a hostile station with no ship, no resources, and no way to find your crew." Cole understood. It was not really a choice. Not if he wanted to save the people who depended on him. Amy, his engineer who had kept the Wanderer running for 6 years. Pete, his pilot who told terrible jokes but could fly through an asteroid field blindfolded. Maria, his navigator, who never got lost no matter where they went. Danny, his security officer, who had never held a weapon in his life but tried his best anyway. They were his family. He could not abandon them. "If I agree," Cole said, "you promise to help me find them, all of them." "I promise." "And they will be free, not your servants or slaves. They will be free to go wherever they wish." Cole took a deep breath. "Then I accept your deal, Nth." Smiled. It was a real smile, warm and genuine, and it transformed her face into something beautiful. "Good," she said softly. She stepped closer, her hand still on his jaw, and tilted his face down toward hers. "From this moment forward, Cole Harper, you belong to me." She murmured the words like a promise, like a prayer. "And I will never let you go." The news of Nth bonding with a human spread through the Dominion like wildfire. Her father, Lord Nth, sent 17 angry messages in the first day alone. Her mother refused to speak to her. Her siblings called her mad. The noble houses whispered that she had lost her mind. A princess, one of the most respected families in the Dominion, had chosen a primitive creature from a death world as her companion. Ignored them all. She moved Cole into her private ship, a sleek vessel called the Silver Dawn. It was larger than the Wanderer had been, with comfortable quarters and advanced technology that Cole did not understand. She gave him his own room next to hers. She gave him new clothes. She gave him access to food and medical care that healed his wounds in days instead of weeks. Most importantly, she gave him information. Your pilot, Pete, was sold to a transport company on Station 4, said one evening. They sat together in the ship's observation room, looking out at the stars. He is working as a dock loader, treated poorly but alive. And the others. Your navigator, Maria, is on a mining colony. Dangerous work but survivable. Your security officer, Danny, was bought by a research facility studying human physiology. Paused. He is not being treated well. Cole's hands tightened into fists, and Amy was quiet for a moment. Your engineer was sold to a different gladiatorial circuit, one that operates on S Prime. It is more brutal than the arena where you fought. Few survive more than 2 matches. Cole stood up. His body was tense. Then we start with her. She is in the most danger. That is not wise, said calmly. S Prime is the heart of territory. Walking in there would be suicide. Then I will die trying. Amy has been with me longer than anyone. She believed in me when I was nobody. I will not leave her in that place. Studied him for a long moment. The fire in his eyes was exactly what had drawn her to him in the first place. That passion, that loyalty, that refusal to abandon the people he loved. We will save her, said. But we will be smart about it. We will rescue the others first. Build our strength. Gather information about S Prime. Then we will go for Amy. Cole wanted to argue. Every moment Amy spent in that arena was a moment she could die. But he also knew that was right. Rushing in blindly would only get them both killed. Fine, he said. We start with Danny. If they are experimenting on him, we need to get him out quickly. Nodded. The research facility is on a moon called 3. I have contacts there. We can be in the system within 2 days. The rescue of Danny was the first mission Cole and did together. The facility was a white building surrounded by security fences and armed guards. It belonged to a species called the, who were known for their scientific curiosity and complete lack of ethics. They studied other species the way children might study insects, without any concern for pain or suffering. Cole had expected to stay on the ship. She was. Her people did not fight. They did not put themselves in danger. But when the shuttle landed, was at his side. She wore a tight suit of material that looked like cloth but was actually light armor. Her silver hair was pulled back from her face. "What are you doing?" Cole asked. "Coming with you. You could get hurt." Looked at him with those violet eyes. "You are mine, Cole Harper. Where you go, I go. That is what it means to be bonded." Cole did not know what to say. He had never met anyone like her. They moved through the facility together. Cole did the fighting. He had been training during the journey, building his strength, learning to use his body as a weapon, had given him kinetic gauntlets that amplified the force of his punches. She had offered him armor, but he refused. "I fight better when I can feel pain," he explained. "It keeps me focused." Disabled security systems and opened locked doors. She was skilled with technology in ways Cole could not understand. Her fingers moved across control panels like a musician playing an instrument. They found Danny in a white room strapped to a table. Tubes were connected to his arms and chest. His eyes were closed. He looked pale and thin and sick. Cole broke the restraints with his bare hands. He lifted Danny over his shoulder like the man weighed nothing. "Can you walk?" he asked. Danny's eyes opened slowly. They were unfocused and confused. "Cole, is that you? I thought you were dead." "Not dead. Come on, we are leaving." The alarm started blaring as they ran through the corridors. Guards appeared, but Cole moved through them like a storm. He punched and kicked and threw bodies aside. He did not kill, but he did not hold back either. Bones cracked. Screams echoed through the halls. Watched him fight and felt something warm bloom in her chest. Pride, admiration, something else she did not have words for. They made it back to the shuttle. They made it back to the ship. Danny fell asleep in the medical bay, his body already beginning to heal. "One down," Cole said. "3 to go." Over the next 4 months, they rescued the rest of his crew. Pete from the transport company, Maria from the mining colony. Each rescue was different. Each one was dangerous. Each one pushed Cole to his limits. But he never gave up, and was always at his side. Something changed between them during those months. At first, had wanted Cole because he was fascinating, because he was different, because he had fire that she lacked. But as she watched him risk his life for his friends, as she saw his kindness and his loyalty and his refusal to abandon anyone, she began to feel something deeper. One night, after a particularly hard mission that left Cole with 3 broken ribs and a gash across his chest, sat beside his bed and cleaned his wounds herself. It was not something a noble would ever do, but she could not bring herself to let anyone else touch him. "Why do you keep doing this?" she asked softly. "You could take the credits I have given you and disappear. Start a new life. Forget about the last crew member." Cole looked up at her. His face was pale from blood loss. His eyes were tired, but his voice was steady. "Amy is family," he said. "You do not abandon family, not ever." Felt tears forming in her eyes. They did not cry. They had evolved beyond such primitive displays of emotion centuries ago. But here she was, crying over a wounded human. "You are the strangest creature I have ever met," she whispered. Cole smiled weakly. "You chose me, remember?" "I did." She leaned down and pressed her lips against his forehead. "And I would choose you again, 1,000 times." She stayed by his side until morning. And when he was healed, they began planning the most dangerous mission of all. The rescue of Amy from S Prime. S Prime was a dark world. Its sun was old and red, casting everything in shades of blood and shadow. The planet was covered in cities built from black stone. The sky was always cloudy. The air smelled like smoke and fear. This was the heart of the Syndicate. Their fortress. No one attacked this place. No one was foolish enough to try. Until now. The silver dawn dropped out of hyperspace on the edge of the system. Cole stood on the bridge beside him. Behind them, his reunited crew worked at various stations. Pete at the helm, Maria at navigation, Danny at communications. They had all insisted on coming despite the danger. The fortress where Amy is being held is in the capital city, said. She pointed at a map on the screen. Security is heavy. Himself oversees the arena. He knows we are coming for her. How does he know? Cole asked. Because I told him. Cole turned to look at her. What? I sent him a message 2 days ago. I told him that the human who escaped his arena is coming back for his final crew member. I told him to prepare his best fighters. Why would you do that? Smiled. It was a cold smile, different from the warm ones she had given him in private. Because is proud. He cannot resist a challenge. He will gather his strongest warriors and put them in the arena. All of his attention will be focused on the spectacle. That means fewer guards elsewhere in the fortress. Cole understood. It was a trap, but not for him, for you are more dangerous than you look, he said. I am. We may not fight with our bodies, but we have been fighting with our minds for 10,000 years. They landed on the planet using fake credentials that had purchased at great expense. They moved through the city in disguise. Cole wore a hood that covered his face, changed her appearance with technology that made her look like a common trader. The fortress was massive. Black walls rose hundreds of feet into the air. Guards stood at every entrance, but had found another way in. An old service tunnel that led from the sewers to the lower levels of the arena. They crawled through dark passages that smelled like rot and death. Cole went first. his kinetic gauntlets ready, followed close behind. The rest of the crew waited at a safe distance, ready to bring the ship in for extraction. The tunnel opened into a corridor beneath the arena. They could hear the crowd above them, roaring with bloodlust. A fight was happening. Cole tried not to think about whether Amy was in that fight right now. They moved quickly through the lower levels. Cole took down guards with swift, silent strikes. He did not enjoy hurting people, but he would do whatever was necessary to save Amy. They found the detention area after 20 minutes of searching. It was a row of cells carved into the stone, each one sealed with an energy barrier. Most of the cells were empty, but in the last one, sitting on a thin mat on the floor, was Amy. She looked different than Cole remembered. Thinner, harder. There were scars on her arms and face that had not been there before. Her black hair had been cut short. Her eyes were empty until she saw Cole through the barrier. Then they filled with tears. Cole, she whispered, you came. I promised I would find you, he said. I always keep my promises. Worked on the barrier controls while Cole stood guard. The energy field flickered and died. Amy stumbled out of the cell and threw her arms around Cole. I thought you were dead, she said into his chest. They told me you died in the arena. They lied. Oh, who is she? Amy asked, looking at. Someone who helped me find you, all of you. I will explain later. Right now, we need to get out of here. They almost made it. They were 20 feet from the tunnel entrance when the lights turned red and alarms started screaming. Guards poured into the corridor from both directions. Too many to fight. Too many to run from. And behind the guards, walking slowly with a smile on his ugly face, was. Did you really think I would not be watching my own fortress? The crime lord said. His white eyes gleamed with satisfaction. I knew you would come for her. I knew you would try to sneak in like a rat. You humans are so predictable. Cole pushed Amy behind him, moved to his side. Let them go, Cole said. I am the one you want. "Oh, I want all of you," replied. "But you most of all, human, you embarrassed me. You cost me money. You escaped when you should have died. For that I am going to make you suffer." He gestured, and the guards raised their weapons. Cole moved. He had fought in 9 arena matches. He had rescued 3 crew members from dangerous situations. He had trained for months under guidance. He was not the same man who had been captured by pirates all those months ago. He was something more. The first guard fell before he could fire. Cole's fist, amplified by the kinetic gauntlet, hit him in the chest and sent him flying into the wall. The second guard dropped when Cole grabbed his weapon arm and twisted it. The third took a kick to the head that knocked him unconscious. The guards fired at him. Energy bolts burned past his face, missing by inches. Cole did not slow down. He moved through them like water through rocks, flowing around attacks, striking weak points, using their numbers against them. Watched from where she stood protecting Amy. Her violet eyes were wide. Her heart pounded in her chest. She had seen Cole fight before. She had watched him defeat impossible opponents. But this was different. This was art. This was beauty. This was everything her people had given up 10,000 years ago. And in that moment, watching him fight barehanded against 50 armed guards, she finally admitted what she had known for months. She loved him. Not because he was fascinating or different or full of fire, but because he was good, because he was loyal, because he would die before abandoning the people he cared about, because he had somehow, against all logic, made her feel alive again. Cole fought for 10 minutes, the longest 10 minutes of his life. When it was over, every guard was on the ground. Some were unconscious. Some were groaning in pain. None were dead. Cole did not kill unless he had no choice. He stood in the center of the carnage, breathing hard. Blood ran down his face from a cut above his eye. His left arm hung at his side, possibly broken. His body was covered in burns from energy bolts that had grazed him. But he was standing. stared at him with something like fear in his white eyes. The crime lord had never seen anything like this. No creature should be able to fight like that. No creature should be able to endure that much pain and keep going. "What are you?" whispered. Cole smiled through the blood. "I am human." He walked toward. The crime lord backed away, his 4 hands reaching for a weapon that was not there. "Do not come any closer," said. "I will destroy you. I will destroy everyone you love." "No," Cole said, "you will not." He hit once. A single punch to the jaw that sent the crime lord crashing to the floor. Did not get up. Cole stood over him for a moment, then turned and walked back to Amy. "Oh, is he dead?" Amy asked. "No, but he will think twice before hurting anyone else." Moved to him and placed her hands on his face. Her cool fingers were gentle against his wounded skin. "Oh, you magnificent creature," she said softly. "We need to go. More guards will come." "I know." She did not move. Her violet eyes searched his face. "But first I need to tell you something." "Can it wait?" "No." She leaned up and kissed him. Not on the forehead like before, on the lips. A real kiss, full of everything she had been feeling for months. When they pulled apart, Cole looked dazed. What was that for? "Because I love you," said simply. "Because from the moment I watched you fight bare-handed in that arena, I knew you were mine. And now you know it too." Cole stared at her. Then, despite the pain, despite the danger, despite everything, he smiled. "I think I have known for a while," he said. "I was just too stubborn to admit it." "That sounds like you." Amy cleared her throat. "Not to interrupt this beautiful moment, but we really need to leave." They left. They ran through the tunnel and emerged into the sewers. They made it to the extraction point where the Silver Dawn was waiting. They flew off S-Prime as ships scrambled to pursue them. They escaped, all of them together. Later, when they were safe in hyperspace, Cole sat in the medical bay while treated his wounds. His crew was resting in their quarters, reunited at last. What happens now? Cole asked. He smiled. Now we go wherever we want. The galaxy is large. There are countless stars to explore, countless adventures to have. She paused. Unless you want to go back to being a simple cargo pilot. Cole laughed. I do not think I can go back to that, not after everything. Good. She finished wrapping his broken arm and leaned back. Because I have plans for us. Big plans. What kind of plans? She looked at him with those glowing violet eyes. The kind that will make the galaxy remember our names. Cole reached out and took her hand. Her cool fingers intertwined with his warm ones. Together, he asked. Together, she promised. And somewhere in the vast darkness between stars, a human and a princess flew toward their future, leaving behind a legend that would be told for generations. The legend of the bare-handed fighter and the woman who had claimed him. The legend of a love that crossed species and all logic. The legend of Cole Harper and Nth. The end.